For much of the offseason, the Pittsburgh Steelers have existed in a state of quarterback limbo. Every major decision, from coaching adjustments to roster construction, has felt tethered to one central question. What is Aaron Rodgers going to do? Now, for the first time in weeks, there's legitimate momentum pointing toward clarity and toward continuity. According to NFL Network insider Tom Pelissero, the odds are increasing that Rodgers returns for the 2026 season, and more importantly, that if he does play, it will be in Pittsburgh. Pelissero's assessment carries weight because it cuts against the earlier uncertainty that clouded the situation. This wasn't framed as speculation. It was framed as trajectory. The odds are rising, he said. I don't see it being any place else. That statement changes the temperature around the franchise. Just weeks ago, reports suggested Rodgers was leaning closer to retirement than a return. Aditi Kinkhabwala of CBS Sports had indicated that the veteran quarterback might be trending away from another year in black and gold. That fueled anxiety within the fan base and inside the organization. Because without Rodgers, Pittsburgh's entire timeline accelerates into uncertainty. With Rodgers, however, the Steelers remain competitive immediately. This isn't just about nostalgia or name value. It's about stability during transition. The franchise is navigating a coaching shift, moving from the long-standing era of Mike Tomlin to a new chapter under Mike McCarthy. That type of transition can destabilize even strong locker rooms. Philosophies change, practice structures shift, terminology evolves. In those moments, a veteran quarterback becomes more than a passer. He becomes an anchor. Rodgers' presence would ease that transition in ways that go beyond statistics. Even at this stage of his career, Rodgers remains one of the most cerebral quarterbacks in NFL history. His understanding of defensive structures, leverage, timing, and situational football gives him an almost coordinator-level grasp of the game. When a new coaching regime steps in, having that kind of on-field extension of the staff is invaluable. It also buys time. Pittsburgh drafted Will Howard in the 6th round in 2025. He's talented, but he's raw. Late-round quarterbacks are developmental projects more often than immediate starters. If Rodgers returns for 2026, Howard gains another year to observe preparation habits, film study routines, and weekly adjustments from one of the most accomplished signal callers of this era. That apprenticeship matters. Quarterback development isn't linear. The speed of the NFL game overwhelms many young passers early. Learning behind Rodgers, watching how he manipulates safeties, controls protections, and dictates tempo could be the difference between Howard becoming a long-term asset or just another late-round flyer. From a competitive standpoint, Rodgers' return keeps the Steelers firmly in the AFC playoff conversation. Pittsburgh's roster isn't barren. The defense remains structurally sound. The organization has long prioritized trench play and physicality, but modern AFC football demands high-level quarterback performance to survive January. The conference is stacked with elite passers. Falling behind at that position almost guarantees irrelevance. Rodgers gives them a fighting chance, and the language used by Pelissero is key. He didn't suggest Rodgers might explore other teams. He didn't frame this as an open market situation. He implied exclusivity, that if Rodgers plays, it's for Pittsburgh. That's significant because it suggests comfort. Comfort with the system, comfort with the organization, comfort with the locker room. Rodgers has been in the league long enough to recognize environments that fit and those that don't. If retirement was the primary alternative and yet the odds are rising toward a return, that implies something about how he views his experience in Pittsburgh. It also suggests unfinished business. The Steelers' recent postseason struggles have weighed heavily on the franchise. They've been competitive but not dominant. A deep playoff run would redefine Rodgers' brief tenure in Pittsburgh. Instead of a transitional veteran stop, it becomes a meaningful late career chapter. There's also the financial layer. Quarterbacks of Rodgers' stature don't come cheaply, but Pittsburgh's front office appears willing to structure deals creatively to maintain flexibility. If both sides want a reunion, cap mechanics rarely become insurmountable obstacles. Short-term incentives, bonuses tied to games played, and playoff escalators can align motivations. The broader impact of Rodgers' return would ripple beyond the quarterback room. Free agents pay attention to stability. Receivers want proven passers. Offensive linemen prefer experienced pocket managers. If Rodgers commits early in the offseason, Pittsburgh becomes a more attractive destination for complementary pieces. And timing matters. The Steelers reportedly prefer clarity before the new league year begins. That's strategic. Knowing whether Rodgers returns shapes draft strategy, free agency aggression, and internal extension talks. Waiting too long compresses decision-making windows. Pelissero's update, therefore, isn't just good news, it's actionable news. It allows Pittsburgh to begin mapping scenarios with increasing confidence. It allows McCarthy to build his offensive framework around a specific skill set. Rodgers isn't a plug-and-play quarterback at this stage. He thrives in systems tailored to his autonomy and pre-snap freedom. Another subtle but important factor is leadership continuity. The locker room respects production. Rodgers' resume commands attention instantly. Younger players fall in line when preparation standards are visible daily. That cultural reinforcement is invaluable during a coaching shift. Skeptics will point to age. Rodgers is deep into his career. Durability questions inevitably surface. But late career quarterbacks have extended their windows in recent years through conditioning, scheme adaptability, and experience. The Steelers don't need Rodgers to be 2011 MVP level explosive. They need efficiency, late decision-making, and situational mastery. They need calm. A 2026 return also reshapes public perception. Weeks ago, the narrative centered on retirement whispers and uncertainty. Now, the conversation pivots to momentum and probability. That psychological shift matters in a media-driven league. Of course, nothing is official. Rodgers ultimately controls the decision. That autonomy has defined his career. But momentum often reveals intention. And right now, the momentum is leaning toward one more run in black and gold. If that materializes, Pittsburgh avoids the chaos of a full quarterback reset. They avoid forcing Howard into action prematurely. They avoid overpaying in a volatile free agent market. Instead, they buy time. They preserve competitiveness. They maintain relevance in a brutal conference. And perhaps most importantly, they maintain identity. The Steelers have long valued veteran leadership and continuity. Rodgers returning aligns with that philosophy. It signals that the organization believes its window isn't closed, merely recalibrated. There's still work to do. Offensive consistency must improve. Protection schemes must adapt. The running game must support the passing attack. But those are refinements. Without Rodgers, the conversation would shift to reinvention. Pelissero's report suggests refinement, not reinvention. For a franchise in transition, that distinction is enormous. If Rodgers steps back onto the field in 2026 wearing black and gold, it won't just be another season. It will represent strategic patience, mutual belief, and a shared understanding that the story isn't finished. And in a league defined by rapid turnover and constant volatility, even the hint of continuity can feel like a competitive advantage.